Takes a little every day to go a long way. God's love never strayed from the day to day. So I pray, keep the faith and praise the Lord. Praise the Lord, save me, Lord. It takes a little every day to go a long way. God's love never strayed from the day to day. So I pray, keep the faith and praise the Lord. Praise the Lord, save me, Lord. It's the things you believe in that keep you striving. Yo, I'm aiming for the top, so I keep on climbing, surviving, rising like the sun in the east. If the Lord be the light, let him shine.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Sabbath, everyone. How are you all doing today? Let us know down in the chat. How was your week? Well, we're so glad that you're back here with us, the squad and friends. For those of you who may be new, please let us know. Be active in the chat. We love to talk to our friends. Let us know where you're from, where you're watching us from. And if you are a returning guest, welcome. It's a wonderful day in April. Amen. My name is Teresa Brown. And I have a few announcements to let you know. We just want to, again, welcome all our guests. We have some new merchandise, everybody. I know I'm not wearing it right now, but if you were watching last week, I had it on. We have some new shirts, the squad and me, because you are our friends. And we want you to know, we want you to feel a part of the squad. So please get your shirts at quadsquad249@gmail.com. We have some new bookmarks. We have some pens. You don't want to be left out because they're going fast. We would also like to thank our affiliate sponsors, Life Radio UK and Envision Radio, heard and seen now in 32 countries, and Adventist Musician International Group, as well as JBN, that is Joy Broadcasting Network. So again, we would just want to thank you. We just want to welcome you here. You are in for a treat. And now I'm going to toss it to the man with the most. We have Sean Smith.
The man with the most children, probably, huh, Teresa?
I mean, not unless you're Nick Cannon, but amen.
I do not have as many as Nick Cannon. Good morning, Teresa. Good to see you. And we got a lot of people backstage that want to come on, don't they?
Oh, yes. I told them they're in for a treat today.
Oh, for sure. So listen, let's get right into it because we really just have an hour and a half show. I want to introduce at this time, let's go ahead and start off with Dr. Claire Evans. Let's bring her to the forefront, bring her to the stage. So happy to welcome Dr. Claire Evans to be with us. Good morning, Dr. Claire. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, before we came on, we were talking about what kind of doctor are you? Are you a doctor of medicine, a doctor of philosophy? What kind of doctor are you?
So I have a PhD, which is a doctor of philosophy. The subject matter is actually geography. And
we're going to pause right there. Doctor of geography. Now, I took geography in school. Teresa, I think she taught geography in school.
No, I took it. I was elementary, but geography is in there.
What? What? Sorry. What made you have such a passion to get a PhD in geography?
It's an excellent question. So geography is really the study of places, of people, and our environment. And our environment can be our physical environment, but also our social, our cultural, our political environment. And it really is, I mean, my husband, who you'll meet soon, calls it advanced social studies. So I would say, it's kind of a mix of different social sciences.
Nice. I like how you put it. Advanced social studies. Talking about your husband, Jonathan Evans, his claim to fame on this show is that he's the son of Dr. Sonia Evans, who is the sister of Daniel Smith. And Dr. Sonia Evans is on the show a lot. So let's go on and welcome your wonderful husband, Dr. Jonathan Evans. Good to see you, my man. How you doing?
Good to see you guys as well. Good morning and happy Sabbath.
Good morning. So your wife is a doctor of advanced social studies, right? I like how you put that.
Yeah. I try to I mean, because geography is such a broad topic, it's not just a study of maps, which is what I thought. I thought it was more like cartography, to be honest. But I was quickly corrected, and now I'm more educated on what it is.
Beautiful. It would be very interesting. Oh, another thing that I like about this couple is that this couple was married they celebrate on October 10th, the same day as my wedding anniversary. And you all have been married for how long again, Jonathan? Make sure you get this right.
About 3.5 years, going on 4.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And Teresa, you also got married in October.
Yep, October 2020. So, yep, we're 3.5 years as well.
There you go. And we want to invite somebody that wasn't married in October, but they were born in October. John, your Uncle Dan, you call him Uncle Dan?
Uncle Daniel, that's right.
Let's bring on Uncle Dan Smith. Go ahead, Danny boy. Good to see
you. What's up? Welcome to the party, y'all.
Show everybody the shirt. Show everyone the shirt. I'm telling them they got to get their merch.
Yes. Man, I was at Oakwood a few weeks ago, and they sold out. I only got sold out. And people are like, they said they love it. Thank you for your support, everybody at Oakwood. Shout out to Andrew Taylor's father and his mom. They're gonna be on the show soon. So hey, look out. But just to give a little context to Claire's interview with my good friend and compassionate comrade. I'll just give a little information and bio off of Claire. And this is what she sent me. Claire is from the Netherlands and has also lived in England, Singapore, and Chile. She came to the U.S. for college in Minnesota and obtained a doctorate in geography from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. Claire taught undergrad and graduate students and has conducted research and evaluation studies on a range of topics, including healthcare access, immigration, that's a hot topic, substance use prevention, youth college and career readiness, and affordable housing. She has a passion about promoting a more equitable and inclusive society. I like that. In her free time, she loves being outdoors in nature and spending time with their dog, Daisy, and her good old husband, Jonathan. What's up, Claire? What's up? And I have to say, also, they are avid, and Claire's an avid, they health enthusiasts. They work out all the time, And what was it that you just won, Claire? Some type of marathon or some
Spartan race.
A Spartan race. Wow.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. You go through mud and you're on trails and you have all these different obstacles like climbing ropes and carrying buckets of stones.
Wow.
For some people that might sound like the worst nightmare, but I think that's fun.
And you can throw a spear,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So this is like extreme sports. Wow.
Yeah.
So John, we need to give a little context about you. You didn't shoot me your bio, but I know you have your undergrad is in biochemistry.
It's in chemistry.
Chemistry.
So
Okay.
I went to the University of Kansas, Rock Chalk Jayhawks. Sorry, we didn't make it that far in the tournament this year. Next year, we'll be back. And so I got a chemistry degree, and then I went on to get my MBA as well. So I have that. I've worked in healthcare administration / healthcare IT for a number of years. I think roughly about maybe 12 years. Worked for a company called Cerner, if you guys know.
Yeah.
And I was part of the federal division where I was the deputy program manager and ran the implementations and was the liaison to the Veteran Affairs Office.
Wow.
So that was a $16 billion project where we revamped their EMR system to make it more efficient and better for the veterans. That actually just almost concluded. So and I moved on to another company called DataVant, where we work with a lot of affordable care organizations in helping them with their submissions and translation and migration of data. So
wow, awesome.
All right.
But, We got some heavy hitters on here. So, without further ado, but they're just good down home folk too. I like that.
That's your family. That's your nephew and his wife. That's fam.
That's right.
That's true.
But
and fun fact about Daniel and I, we have the same exact birthday, October 18th.
Oh,
exactly. Yeah. Well,
you know them all his life, man.
And there's few pictures where you see Jonathan and he looks so young, and Daniel looks the same.
Hey, I'm gonna keep it that way. We're gonna keep it going. So we have a surprise.
Is this in the news subject segment?
Yeah. So before we jump in, we're gonna be showing kind of a lot of video clips here and there, but it's gonna be nice. So let me set this up. Yes, I
you got it ready?
I got it ready.
So in the news this past couple weeks, we have a famous person.
Yes. Keep talking, Sean. Keep talking.
Yeah, so let's just be honest. Teresa was in the news this past couple of weeks. We wanted to show it last week, but hopefully we have it ready this week. We have a TV star on the show, and we wanted to highlight her this week.
Here it is.
Here we go. We can't see it, but that's the whole thing.
Well, Fox 25, a storm team Thunder Truck is on the road this morning for another class in storm school.
So Fox 35 storm team meteorologist Jessica Dobson joins us live from Pinecrest Prep in Orlando.
And Jess, you are going to be hanging out with some future news reporters, maybe meteorologists. By the way, today is Hug a News Anchor Day.
Yeah. That's such a good point. I forgot about that. I'll have to tell them maybe a little bit later so I don't get bombarded with hugs. But yeah, we're really excited to talk about all the cool things that Pinecrest is up to. And I have Miss Brown with us, and she actually helped to set up the newscast section. And it's almost like a class. Tell me a little bit about your history with Pinecrest. You've been here, you were here for a couple of years before you started. Tell me about that.
So I was working here since 2014. I was here about 10 years as a teacher, and then I was able to move on into other areas in the school. So currently right now, I'm a licensed mental health counselor, but I come here once a week to do the Wave News, which is our new morning announcement club.
And who is included in that morning announcements? Is it all students?
So we have, our school is a K-8. So as far as the Wave goes, our students are 4th grade to 8th grade.
Okay, we have some students here next to you.
Yeah, so we have Amari Weaver. She's one of our Wave students.
Tell me, what is your favorite part about doing the Wave newscast?
My favorite part about doing Wave is mostly recording and just having fun in general. And it's like, I like writing scripts. I just like having fun with my friends and recording.
Okay, what made you get started doing that?
I don't know, just being here and just doing it.
Yes.
And she has great school spirit. Amari was one of our students that made sure she was a part of the Wave, because the purpose of the Wave is to make sure that we boost the school's morale. And Amari, who's also a cheerleader, as you can see, she really wanted to be a part of that Wave.
Awesome. So you're a cheerleader, you do it all. What kind of scripts do you write? So is it like the morning announcements or?
We normally we will write for what's like for lunch, just to make sure that the special reports have been memorized and packed down so they won't forget anything. And we write what's the events that's coming up in our school, like field day that was recently before spring break, we wrote that. And for the special report, we make sure that people knew about the special event that was coming up.
Oh my goodness, you guys have, you are going to come for our jobs sooner rather than later. I can just tell you have such a superstar smile. We do want to talk though. You guys mentioned you're doing some stuff for the eclipse too, right? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we do have the kids getting ready for the eclipse. One thing about the Wave is that we also want to make sure that everyone knows it's going. So our teachers are so instrumental in making sure that they also know what's happening in the news. So we've been following the eclipse, making sure that the kids have their glasses and everything ready for that event.
Yeah, and I do want to talk to a couple of the other students. Eva, tell me what you are most excited about with this eclipse.
There we go.
I'm most excited about what this eclipse is, how special this event is.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Thank you, Eva. That's such a thoughtful answer. Do you ever watch the news, Eva?
Sometimes when I'm going to the park or something, I just want to make sure I than what the weather is.
Oh, well, thank you so much. We have so many bright students out here, and they have been so much fun to talk to. And we're going to continue to have more hits. You'll have to stay tuned and tune into Fox Local when we're doing GDO Extra. And we're going to talk more, and we're going to try and take a look at what you guys have in terms of equipment and see what you guys are up to in your classroom, because this is so exciting. I did not have this when I was in school, so I'm just blown away. We're going to show them the Thunder Truck, maybe get some of them to do the weather. Does anyone want to do the weather?
Yeah.
Yay.
Okay, great. So they're so much fun. They're so smart. I mean, I'm just blown away. I love doing school visits for this reason, because there's so many smart kids out there. But I'll send it back to you guys
the
in
next
studio.
generation too, which is important.
Definitely.
Yeah. And we love Miss Brown. She's brought the kiddos here to Fox 35 on many field trips.
Miss Brown. Tell her we said hi.
Yes, we just love
I didn't know
her.
who was in
Hi,
studio.
you've been to the studio before.
Yes, we've been there 2 years in a row.
Oh,
So,
James.
Good job.
We are so proud of our Teresa.
Yay, my little kitties. Yeah, they did such a great job.
Wow.
And so did you.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
I was like,
You're a natural in front of the camera.
that's what everyone keeps saying. And I'm just like, the principal came up to me and she said, "Oh my God, thank goodness for doing that, because I don't know what I would have said." And I'm like,
And that's why you're on the squad. So here we go. We're gonna jump right in. We just had to share that. We like to give kudos to our own.
Thank you.
Just want to let you know. Everybody else they need to know too. So anyway, our study section is the central issue: love or selfishness. Love or selfishness. So our first part is me, myself, and I. Me, myself, and I.
Sounds like a song.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody know? Just you and I know the song, Dan.
I know the song.
I know Beyonce's version. Is there another one?
Well, there is another. I think, Sean, we know. We're talking about the version we know.
Yeah, what version was Teresa talking about?
Teresa and I are talking about different versions.
Right. Because I'm thinking about Beyonce.
Oh, yeah, we don't know that version.
No. We what was it, Tribe Called Quest or whatever?
Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah.
It's just me, myself, and I.
That's funny.
So, Teresa, why do you think
De La Soul. Sorry. I'm sorry.
De La Soul. Okay. Yeah. John know that. So why do you think that our society is a total like self-awareness, self-fulfillment, basically just about self-centered culture? And how does that differ from a Christian culture?
So in my view, self-awareness and what was the other self?
Self-fulfillment.
Okay, yeah. So there are some selves that are necessary, and there are some selves that are not very positive. So like selfish, sometimes self-centered, pleasing, self-affirming. Those things are kind of like all about me, myself, and I couldn't care less about what's going on with other people. I'm all about making sure that I'm happy and pleasing myself. Self-aware. I feel like in order to be self-aware, you have to also be aware of other people to actually be self-aware, because there are a lot of people who are functioning out of selfishness because they're not self-aware. And so we come into a problem with that. The problem with self-glorification and everything self is that it takes away from the mission of the Christian mission, which is to love God, love others, and to spread the gospel. I can't do that if I'm only focused on myself. So to be only focused on myself means I'm even coming before God most times.
Okay. It's very, and it's interesting that you all were talking about the song that they've made songs, me, myself, and I. Me, myself, and I. That's all I got. It's when I found out in the end. It's like that's what we're geared to. So John, what do you think are some of the pros and cons of thinking both from a self-awareness perspective and or Christian perspective?
Yeah. So I think it, in a sense, if you are a Christian and you have been raised Christian, you automatically you try to think beyond yourself.
Okay.
And I know, at least I was raised, as you know, Seventh-day Adventist, and used to go to Sabbath school and everything. So you try to think about not just yourself. You try to think about your community. You try to think about your family. And I think to this point in my life, I still try to think about my friends, try to think about my family, my community, my neighbors, and I think their happiness and enriching their happiness enriches my happiness as well. Going back to the point to your question, I think God has given us the ability of choice, right? And with that choice, some of that is you're going to think about yourself. And I think that if you have a Christian construct, then as you are thinking about yourself, you are thinking about mankind and your community and your fellow man.
I like that.
For me, when I think about myself and my goals, I also think about that in the confines of how does that help my unit, which is like my family, my mother, my father, you, my wife, and then also outside of that, my friends and everything and everybody else.
Well, and just jumping in, I'm thinking about that because you always think about others because you are like a gourmet chef. So when you crack up that grill, you got everybody coming over and you're preparing like huge Thanksgiving meals and stuff. I mean, hey, you're thinking about other people because people thinking about coming to your house to eat.
Yeah, and that makes me feel good, when other people are happy and I'm bringing that happiness to a group of people, that enriches my life and makes me happy. But in the same token, it is somewhat self-serving and selfish because I'm like, hey, this is something that I did. I made this food and you like it and you're telling me, Seriously, I mean, it's a little bit of it's a double-edged sword, right? Because I think just human nature is to you want to be, and some people that you want to be out there in front. You want success. You want the accolades. I mean, and even the pursuit of financial gain. I mean, yes, you have to do that to survive, but really, how much do you really need to survive? I mean,
right.
We are attuned to trying to be the best, right? Our society tells us to be the best. Social media tells us to be the best. And even if that includes helping other people, right? Most people still want those accolades and that recognition.
Well, and it's always a dichotomy of not getting the recognition or being anonymous.
Yeah.
Like if you give a donation, it's like I don't, so it's you're right. It's like a two-edged sword.
Yeah.
So Claire, Teresa, were you?
I just wanted to insert something really quickly. When we think about the concept of me, myself, and I, especially when we listen to the songs, there's a difference between being selfish and being hurt. There are some people who are just selfish, like they've been like that since they were little or since however long. And then you have some people who are just hurt. So they get to a place where it's like, yeah, it's just me, myself, and I done already given myself to the community, to my church family, to whoever, and I've been burned. And so now in the end, I feel like all I have is myself. And so they kind of create that self-centeredness out of pain and hurt that had happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Daniel, before you go on, one thing I want to interject and kind of back to your initial question about the me, myself, and I think historically we have, as human beings, we used to rely on each other for survival, right? You couldn't survive out in the wild. You couldn't survive by yourself. You needed a community. You needed a tribe. You needed family. You needed friends to survive. Now we are in, with all the technology and everything, we're very self-sufficient by ourselves. We don't necessarily need somebody to survive, right? So I think
we just need AI.
That's right. Right. Yeah. And I think that leads us to be a little bit more selfish and self-centered because you don't have to rely on anyone else.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Claire, could you read 1 John 4:21?
So the version I have, it says, And he has given us this command: anyone who loves God must also love their brother and sister.
What does that look like to you? And who is our brother and sister in, in the Christian sense?
Yeah, I think it really extends to every human being, right? And so we're really thinking about our brother and sister globally, across cultures, race, ethnicity, nationality, and even religion. And the part that's hard is loving the people who aren't maybe very lovable because you don't agree with them, or because, like Teresa said, like they've hurt you, right? And I think there's a balance between maybe you need to love them at a distance because you also need to protect your space a little bit.
That's right.
But at the end of the day, even if you don't have to spend all your time with them, like you would ultimately be there for them in their darkest hour, right? You still wish them the best. You might pray for them, and you think about humanity as interconnected.
Interconnected. So Sean, how would you interpret this statement? God does not intervene to limit the results of his people's choices, but he allows the natural consequences of rebellion to develop from those choices.
Yeah. So before I interpret, I'll try to give an illustration, and I'll speak from myself. So we have natural choices. So, for example, on Fridays, I like to stop at the Chinese restaurant and eat Chinese food.
Every Friday.
And so the consequence of those choices that I don't have a body like John and Claire Evans because Chinese food is not the most healthy. That's the natural consequence. God's not going to say, you know what, I'm going to stop all that sugar and chlorine and fatty acids from accumulating in your body. That's just going to be the natural consequence of your choice of eating unhealthy food. But on a grander scale, talking about selfishness, and that is a selfish choice. Going to eat Chinese is a selfish choice. I can try to argue while I'm getting some food for my kids as well, but let's be honest, it's really for me, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about that. And so in life, and God is trying to teach us, the more you make selfish choices, right, the more the negative those consequences are going to be. When it's time for me to bring all the people who love me and let them come to heaven, you're not going to be a part of that because you haven't chosen me. You've chosen yourself. And I'm trying to tell you that I am life. I am eternal life. And if you choose me, you will have life and you will have it more abundantly. There's another choice of selfishness that you can have, and that choice leads to death. So I'm not going to stop you from making that choice. I'm going to try to persuade you to make a choice to choose me, but you have the free choice and the consequence. And hopefully, in some of the actions that we have, we will learn enough from the consequences when we choose self that we will ultimately choose him. But to answer your question, what that means is God is going to let the natural consequences of our choices hopefully teach us a lesson. And ultimately, if we don't learn from it, it's going to lead to death.
Well, and that brings me to this general question, see if anybody can take it on. If God is love and his character is love, why does he allow bad things to happen in this world and, and to people?
Because he loves us. And going back to what Sean mentioned, God's love is free will, is free choice. If he were to stop certain things from happening, or if he were to stop us from taking certain actions, then the opposite of free will is control, right? So then he would be controlling us. He will be controlling all of our decisions. He'll be controlling all of our actions. There would be no room for consequences because he's in control. But there's no love where there's control. He wants us to choose him out of free will. And so us living in a sinful nature, us being sinful, the consequences of sin is, we know death, we know destruction, we know all of those things. We're living in a sinful place. So there are consequences to those actions. But because he loves us, it's like a parent that allows their child to fall sometimes. Some people are like, why didn't you get the baby? Well, I can't catch them every time. Because if I catch them every time and everything, when are they ever going to be able to stand on their own? Because I'm not going to be around forever. So eventually they're going to need to know what that feels like and how to get back up and keep moving, because I'm not always going to be around. So in that sense with God, it's like, yes, he said that, he's going to be with us always. But how do we know what faith looks like if it's never been tested? How do we know how close we are to him if we don't experience pain? How do we know what redemption looks like? How do we know what a testimony is without a test? How do we know all these things? And how do we truly say we can love a God where we've never gone through anything with him? So he allows things to happen because he loves us. Because to not allow us to experience the consequences of our free will, then it's simply just control. And that's not what he's about.
So then you're saying that we would learn that there's a lesson or there's a consequence if he just
kept catching us every single time.
In addition to that, when we think of the story of Job, right, the argument that Satan was making was that, listen, Job only praises you because you're controlling his environment, right? This is not a true, for lack of a better word, experiment. If you stop controlling his environment, right, he will curse you and die. You're stopping all the bad things that I want to do to him. You keep putting a fence around him, right? So of course he's going to praise you. Of course he's going to love you, because you only allow good things to happen to him, right? And then so God said, all right. He started taking away some of that fence that he had around him. The devil came up and he did his thing. And then at the end of the day, God was like, see, I told you my man loved me, right? Because he said, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. I took away the control that you argued that I had around him, and he still praised me. And then the lesson for Job was like, man, even though crazy things happen to me, God is still here with me. And it turned out to be that he was blessed more after the situation than he was before he went through all those issues with Job.
Wow, that's a good illustration. That's a good illustration. We're going to move on to our first current event topic, and it wasn't part of the original, but because it's current, we had to recognize. Let me just bring up an image here and see what you guys think. See what feelings you may experience.
Dan, the funny thing about this, talking about generations, right? This is so real to you and I. Like we lived through this.
We lived it.
Right? Now, Claire and Teresa, like,
I remember the court case. I remember the gloves.
Oh, you do?
I remember the gloves.
Dr. Evans and John, where were you guys in 90? What was it, 94, right?
95.
I think I was in elementary school at the time.
Yeah,
I'm 40 years old, so I'm older than you probably think. But
yeah, so we're 80s babies, so we were alive. We were obviously younger, but I was not living in the U.S. right, and so that's why I was like, I didn't know what was going on. Like I kind of know references here and there from now having lived in the U.S. for a while, but I'm not as closely. I wasn't, as closely involved with the case as most people.
As we were here.
So I just wanted to get some raw thoughts. He passed away the other day. He was 76 years old. He passed away from, they said it was
cancer,
prostate cancer. So John, what did you think when you heard? Did you?
I was shocked because to be honest, you don't really hear much about OJ anymore. So he wasn't in the forefront of my mind. But when you see, when you hear that he passed away, it's always sad. You don't want anyone to die, especially of prostate cancer. And but did bring back some feelings of when the trial was going on, and as you said, I do remember, like, if a glove don't fit, you must have quit. That's in my mind. That's in my mind. So, and you think about everything that he went through that trial, and also everything that I think Nicole was her name, that their family went through. It's just it's a very sad event. Like I said, I never really want anyone to die, but it was I don't know. it was reflective, I guess I was saying.
It was you. That is the key word. Very reflective.
Nice.
So Claire, you said that you weren't in the country, so you kind of like, oh, okay. Sean, what about you, Sean?
Man, it's OJ has such a strong history prior to the trial, right? But all of that just seems to run up into a wall in terms of the trial. And then because before we saw him on the Bronco on the middle of the freeway, right? we would see him on Hertz commercials. He would be commentating football, OJ
running through the airport.
Right, running through the airport. OJ, the famous football. He was a sports icon. And then he became a pariah, like nobody wanted to touch him. But then when the trial brought out so much, and as a doctor of geography, I'm sure you studied this, but we went through the trial, and when they showed the results of the trial, when the verdict came out, the different experiences and different feelings from the different cultures and races was stark. It was, I want to say, it was eye-opening just to see it. You talk about it, but to see it, and then you think of yourself like, why do I feel this way? Why, why do I have this position, or based upon my culture, based upon how I grew up, and I see how they look at it, but I don't look at it that way, and it brings up a lot. Definitely when you think of our social economics and think of our history, and they were just revealed all those things that we talk about.
Right. So Teresa, that's a good point, Sean. What were your thoughts? I mean, you said you were in kindergarten or whatever.
Yeah, I was like kinder, first grade, but I would hear about it like throughout my upbringing. There were some people, I'm gonna be very short and sweet. When it happened, right? I remember growing up and seeing the different views. Like there were some people that were like, one for us, and there other people were like, stone him. There were those two sides, and it's just amazing how, like, even though you can be found innocent or guilty in a court setting, right? And we all agree that this is how everything should be run in a court setting. In the court of public opinion, they're going to have their own verdict, and that's what's going to stick. So even though on paper you're innocent or guilty, in the world, you are what they say you are. And that's just how it's always been for him. So, when I saw that he passed, it was shocking because in my mind, I'm like, all the people that I like, all the celebrities that we knew of growing up, they're all dying off now. And now we're left with the teeny boppers. For me, in my opinion, I'm like, all of the greats are going, and now we got all these, whoever's. It was, my first thought was like, man, that's shocking. And then I also thought, I hope people don't go crazy with this whole thing with saying what they want to say, because you still don't celebrate somebody's death. Like, I just don't agree with celebrating somebody's death, regardless of how you feel about them.
And it's interesting that you said that, because it just seemed like it's my thoughts. It's like the media is relitigating the whole trial, and it's like over and over again. It's like, let's let the man rest in peace. You guys, want him guilty. He died.
They did the same thing with Michael Jackson. They did the same thing with Kobe. Like, it's like, come on, like, can we just focus on what's happening right now and not rehash all these other things? Regardless of how you feel, they're gone now. Like, can they rest?
So, Sean, any comments? What's happening in the comments?
Oh, this is what happened. Eating with veggie Reggie.
All right.
Sounds like a restaurant.
It's a shame that he had all that fame and fell down to accusations of murder and robbing banks. And then Janet Robinson, let's pray for her. She said, OJ passed.
Hey, some people, they get their current events when they watch The Squad.
I've been in the word. I didn't even know OJ passed.
Hey, when the Bible meets current events, that's who we are. We keep you updated.
You have to like Rochelle Parker. Oh Oh, Johnny Cochran. Oh, yeah.
Wow. So that brings us, because we had a part A and B to this too, because that was kind of unexpected. But I want to show you guys this clip, and then we can discuss it just a little bit. See, it was interesting. So here we go.
When you really can't explain why like great things happen to you, some people can say, "Oh, it's my hard work." Well, everybody works hard, okay? I know personally what God has done for me. I know personally, and here's the thing. I said, if you don't know there's a God, then something's wrong with you. If I said, if you don't watch women's basketball, something seriously wrong with you, would you take it as threatening as somebody took the other one? I mean, it's a figure of speech. If you can't comprehend that, then tune me out. Like, tune me out, because I'm not here to offend anybody. I'm not here. That is not my makeup. That's not my character. So if you're just tuning in for one interview and you probably heard it from somebody else and it's hearsay, then you can have your take on it. I'm not apologizing. I'm not going to apologize for what I said and what I feel, because I know my life and I know why things have happened in my life, and I'm gonna salute God as much as I can, because I know it's not just my doing.
She took a stand. Of course, that was Don Stanley. From Staley, who the coach of the undefeated South Carolina
Gamecocks women's basketball
team. Yes. So they came at her because she was mentioning God and she was giving praise to God, and she was like, "Hey, I'm gonna be unapologetic. God, hey, my record was." We won everything and didn't lose anything. That had to be God.
Well, who is they? Who is they that was coming after her?
Well, see, what had happened was when she was interviewed. When she was interviewed after the game, and it was, when you see the picture, it will remind you of somebody up in front of church giving prayer and testimony, right? And they just won. Her surrounded by her teammates, asked, "Well, how you feel about the game?" And she would keel over and start crying and talk about, listen, God brought us through. He did it.
He was like preaching
all the praise and honor. If you go back and look some of the clips, some people they have added some Hammond organs in the
The internet's undefeated.
And so people started, they started complaining, how you gonna get up there, talk about, give God all this praise, say he did this for you, say he did that for you, and if I don't believe in God, there's something wrong with me. So people took offense and started, criticizing her about that.
So John, what do you think about her giving praise to God?
I mean, I think it's great. I mean, I feel like we live in a society, and this is what we profess as. I mean, living in America, you have freedom of speech, right? You can say, I believe in God or I don't believe in God, and technically you're not supposed to be persecuted for it. But for some reason, when you have a devout Christian and they're vocal about it, sometimes that offends people. And for whatever reason, it's taken negatively, right? She has just as much freedom to profess what she believes, and upon her win and all her elation, to give glory to God, as somebody who says that, I want to thank my parents, or I want to thank my teammates or whatever, because I mean, that's how she feels, and that's what supports her, and that's how she went through her journey to get to where she is today, to have the success that she has now with winning, being undefeated.
That's right.
So I think for sometimes when people take stark stances, that especially now in today's cancel culture, that you are going to get attacked. And the fact that she is sticking by her guns and not backing down, and professing her beliefs still after the fact, I have a tremendous amount of respect for her for that. So because she's not doing anything negative, it's not hurting anyone. If somebody feels a certain type of way, then that's on them. Like she said, that they can tune her out. They don't have to listen.
That's right. So, Dr. Claire, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree. I think, it wasn't necessary. I think what kind of rubbed people the wrong way wasn't necessarily her thanking God, but she did say something like, if you don't believe in God, something is wrong with you, right? But yeah, I mean, it's freedom of speech. She doesn't say, if you don't believe in God, we're going to kill you, or she wasn't inciting violence. And so it's fully within her right to feel like that. And I agree with John. It's hard being in the public eye. Even if you're not in the public eye, you can say something and people will get really upset, and then the whole internet will come down on you for something that you said. And sometimes it's out of context, and maybe sometimes there's value in that when people speak out of line and say things that are truly hateful. But I do think sometimes we go too far, and it's like, if you don't agree with her,
keep scrolling.
Like, keep going. Why keep bothering with this? We get so upset about it. And I'm like, just let her have her beliefs. And I'm glad that, she's sticking with it. I'm glad that people are supporting her and having her back. Mm-hmm. And yeah, if you don't want to get on board with her, then don't.
That's right. That's it. Sean.
I think it's easy for us because the Bible says, train up a child in the way that he should go. When he's old, will not depart from it. And we see that in Don Staley. Like, no matter where we've been there, no matter where we do or where we go, it's that God that's in us. It's that church culture. John talking about growing up in Adventist church and going to Sabbath school. And we see that in Dawn Staley when she gets up there in front of everybody as like, oh, God, like, okay, I can feel it. I feel you. I relate to you, right? I've been there. Also, like the saying, you can take the person out the hood, but you can't take the hood out the person. And so it's like that church, that culture, that environment that speaks to us. Like, I can relate to that, Dawn. I can relate to your feeling. I can relate to your emotion. I can relate to how you give him praise right now. I've been there, I've done that. So that's not foreign to us. So it's easy for us not to condemn it, for us not to throw it down, because it's something that we can relate to. Other people, on the other hand, who may not have grown up in that same culture or environment, like, okay, that's new. That's kind of strange. Like, who are you to get up there and say, if you don't know God, something wrong with you? On our side, kind of going back to OJ, we'll jump up in praise when she says that. Other people are like, I don't know. I was a question.
Right. Yeah.
Somebody was gonna say something. John, you were saying something?
I haven't said anything yet, but I thought Teresa was about to say something, so I was gonna pause.
There are some. She didn't do anything different than a lot of other groups do, right? So you have some groups, that have become so powerful. They're almost untouchable. So they could say whatever they feel is right. And if you're not an ally or whatever, then it's a problem. But then if you were to also stand firm on your beliefs, then you get canceled because then it goes against this other group. And so it's like, going back to what she said, if you don't agree with me, then just keep it scrolling, because in my mind, I'm like, if we're one nation under God, and we keep saying this all the time, everywhere we go, we talk about it all the time. It's in our
nation under groove.
Under what?
No, keep going.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if we're one nation, like, it's okay at the Grammys to say, I just want to thank God, but you can't say nothing else past that. It just becomes like a little blurb, right? We all say, I just want to thank God and my mama, and we keep it going. But for this woman to truly feel like just enamored in God's blessing and everything, and just for her to truly just give him praise, you got your panties in a bunch. I don't understand why, when there are other groups that are able to say what they feel, and we cannot have a thought against it. They, like, if you are against it, or not even against it, different, if you think differently, then you're canceled, but they're not. It's
double standards.
Yeah.
It's a double standard, and it's just getting really tired. Like, it's getting really tired.
Snap to that, because that you hit a nail on the head right there. Because I mean, if you think about it, just like you said, other groups they make statements and you can't talk against it. So then why can't Christian. Now, I'm not saying Christianity people make a lot of statements as well,
right?
And there's sometimes a lot of judgment underneath those statements. But like I said, freedom of speech, and that's how a lot of different groups are doing it as well. And just keep moving.
Just let her have her moment.
Yeah, for real. It's all you're right. It's a moment.
Try to do a baptism in the interview. Like, come on.
And then the conversation is so focused on that one thing, that's also what I hate. Like, you need to look at what she is accomplishing and her team is accomplishing.
Amen.
And she's giving thanks to God. And can we focus on that instead of having this one thing, and then that gets completely out of proportion, and that becomes, kind of like with OJ, right? Not obviously the same thing, but it's like then people just hyper focus on
that one
particular thing and don't look at the whole picture.
Because they want to discredit, especially if I want to discredit you, and you gave me something to hold on to, or I'm going to hold on to this to like mull over what you actually did.
And bringing it back to the initial question of selflessness versus being selfish, like this is a prime example of someone spiritually being selfless and giving all glory that she's accomplished.
Come on, John.
To the Lord.
Come on, John. Your mom will be proud.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a great example of that very point. So, good job picking that too, Daniel.
Thank you. So, part 2, caring for the community, taking it to the streets. Me and my song references. Anyway, Sean, could you read Matthew 4:23?
Matthew chapter 4, verse 23 says, Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness among the people. I'm going to read verse 24. Please forgive me. News about him spread all over Syria, and people brought to him all who were ill with various diseases, those suffering severe pain, the demon-possessed, those having seizures, and the paralyzed, and he healed them.
Okay, so you're going to read 23?
I did. I read 23 and 24.
Oh, okay. Cool. So Jesus deeply cared for people. It was his unselfish love and commitment to meeting the needs of people, along with spreading the gospel that drew people to him. What is our community mission and focus today, Elder Smith, Attorney Sean, Esquire?
The exact same thing. The problem, the reason why the Pharisees and religious leaders didn't like Jesus at that time, because he was taking it to the streets, right? They were so happy and comfortable congregating just in the tabernacle, right? And we're susceptible to the same laziness, right?
Go ahead.
All our religious fervor is wrapped up in congregating in one place at one time, and we consider ourselves worshiping and following Christ.
Mercy.
When Christ is saying, listen, it's more than congregating. I asked you, Israelites, Jewish people, to spread this message throughout the entire world. You've got to be given, they've got to hear about me in Rome. They've got to hear about me in Samaria. They've got to hear about me in Africa. They've got to hear about me throughout this entire nation. And that's the mission that he came to preach and tell the people. And the religious leaders like, no. I don't want to be a part of that life. I like sticking to my culture. I like sticking to these simple things that make me happy. And God said I had a different message.
Wow. So Dr. Claire, so here we go. I got this question for you too. You lived on 2 different continents. How have you seen the love of Christ and our fellow brethren demonstrated in a community that stood out to you? If you can think about that.
Yeah, I think there's a couple different things here. On one hand, the different cultural contexts and sometimes political contexts will shape people's religious expression, right? And so if you are in a country that does promote freedom of speech or where there's a majority Christian, it may be easier for you to speak out and be on the streets than it is where you might be, your life might be threatened by that, right? And also the cultural norms about how people express their religion. Some people are just more outspoken. You know, even the concept, for instance, of a mega church, right? That is something that you don't necessarily see outside the United States a lot, right? Where there's like a big production, right? And this big celebration. And not that there's anything wrong or right with celebrating in that setting, but for some people that seems like a lot and they might be a little bit more subdued. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the same thing, because in terms of the context, the Bible sends a common shared message that unites Christians living around the world in these different contexts. So yes, whatever you're going through because of the cultural context, the political context in your country, if you're drawing from the same book, then you still have that shared message. And so what I see is, in all around the world, people living lives in service of God and doing great things in his name. And at the same time, sometimes not doing great things, because that's where the humanity comes in, right? Because of human being and their flaws. You also see across countries and cultures, people using religion and Christianity for their own gain.
That is so true. That is so true. Yeah. So you answered that question very politically correct. I was trying to see if there was a country that you were in that kind of stood out to you, that kind of they did certain things and you could saw that they were, you know, really focusing on the mission of the people, you know, but it's all good. It's all good.
I can't, you know, it's hard to pick a country when you see people, you know, living according to the word of God in all these different settings.
And just to couple on that, I mean, it's hard. I think it would be difficult to pick a certain country, because within every country, with every community, you see a little bit of both. Like there's people self-serving, and there are people that are selflessness serving God, you know? So I think in every context, whether it's here, whether it's England, Netherlands, or anywhere, you're going to have different groups doing different things for different reasons. So yeah, I think you can't really group a country as a whole as like, and generalize a country based on, you know, just commission.
Right. What are they doing?
Right. It's more of like the groups within that country. Yeah.
So it's still based on, I guess, from what we're saying, it's based on the outpouring of the Spirit and how each one of us has that spirit to go out and serve. So that means we all need to be going out and service, no matter where we are, just as long as we do our part. So Teresa, could you read John 10:10?
All right. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay. John 10:10. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it more abundantly.
So the purpose of the gospel is to restore the image of God to humanity. The restoration includes physical, mental, emotional, spiritual healing. How do you see God using you in your profession in healing? That's an alley-oop.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, he's a tricky one, that Dan. So in counseling, right, one thing I have to be mindful of is to not put my beliefs on anybody, right? Not even just spiritual beliefs, cultural beliefs or norms. Even if the person sitting in front of me looks like me, I cannot presume to know their life or to think that I have the answers for them. I'm here to help them kind of figure out those answers for themselves, give them the tools to help them manage their own choices. So there's still a high level of autonomy that each client must have that I should also provide. But there have been times in session where that door opens up for more of some type of spiritual counseling, in ways that it's safe to do, because again, I have to make sure that I'm being safe. My clients also know that I provide spiritual counseling as well upon request. So if that's something that they want to tackle, because sometimes sometimes clients are happy to know that you're also Christian, because they even feel comfortable bringing up their beliefs to you, because they feel like you'll understand and won't look at them as if they're crazy. Because that's one fear that they always have, like, will this person understand me? Will I be seen as someone who is not crazy? That's like, especially for people of color. So there have been times where the Lord has been able to be in the midst and use me as a vessel to help that person just a step further in whatever it is that they were struggling with, so that they could ultimately have some hope. Because I could go through all the interventions, and there are some people that just want to know that there's a little bit more hope out there for them. And so I have had some opportunity to allow God to be in the midst of sessions, whether it's praying with them at the beginning or the end, or to talk to them about, sometimes they'll bring up a biblical question or a thought that they have, or something that happened to them at church, and we're able to like actually sit and talk about it, and they end up feeling better.
I like that. I like that. So, John, here we go. In this physical restoration, we talk about, restoring the image, of humanity to God. What is your motivation in working out regularly and seeing that as a part of spiritual restoration? Like eating healthy, eating well, it's part of that restoration process. What is your motivation in working out regularly? Because I know you have a strenuous workout regimen. You shared it online once. I was like, good grief.
Sometimes, I think I go in spurts, but I call it the season of my life. But yeah, so I mean, ultimately, it's about my well-being. So mentally, physically, and spiritually, I feel better when I'm being active and working out. I've noticed when I do not work out, and when I say I'm not eating well, or I take months off from working out, Claire can tell you that my whole well-being, my psyche, everything is much lower. She sometimes tells me, you need to go to the gym. you need to do something, because you need to get out of your funk. And I think as a whole, if you like to tie it back to spirituality, I think we are meant to strive to being healthy. The Bible states and gives constructs to how we're supposed to eat, how we're supposed to live our lives, and to make sure that our body is living up to its full potential. And I think from working out to eating healthy and everything, that helps you become more one with what God thought that he wants for our life, like in the Bible, if that makes sense. So like as a Seventh-day Adventist, you don't eat pork, right? Or you're not supposed to eat catfish, or you're not supposed to do certain things. And that's because of health and making your body feel a certain type of way. And back then, like pork and catfish, they were very unclean animals. And if you ate them, you would probably get sick, or you wouldn't live as long, or what have you. And I think to this day, like that same thought process of eating healthy and taking in good foods, and having your superfoods and your kale and your greens, and that.
There you go.
Well, that just makes you feel better as a person.
Yes.
Which also makes you more productive in life, I feel like.
Hold up. So you're saying eating kale makes you happy?
I think
eating Rebecca's kales.
Honestly, I think eating kale and when you get into the routine of doing it, right? So I think with anything, you get in the routine of doing something like eating kale, eating spinach, eating chicken breast, and what have you. It does give you some sense of joy, for one, because you see the overall change in your body, which outwardly makes you feel good, but also inside it makes you feel good as well. You're more energetic. But then when you get out of that routine, you notice that you start missing the kale and the chicken because that's what your body is used to. And now they're somewhat rejecting the other types of food.
See, my problem is when I start off with the kale, it rejects it. So I need to
yeah.
That's the hurdle that I'm trying to overcome. So maybe after the show we could talk about how.
Yeah, I get that, and it does help that Claire is a very healthy eater. I mean, I always tell the story of when we first started talking, and I went to her house, and she was like, "Well, dinner's ready." She was, "What do you have?" Well, I have kale, I have carrots, I have some beans, and I have some quinoa. I'm like, I said, "You just named all sides." Where's the main course?
Where's the steak?
Yeah, so she does. I mean, she does help keep me on track. So I am fortunate in that regard. But back to the question, I just think that overall health, mind, body, and spirit, they're all linked. And if you are being healthy physically, and it will ultimately help you in your spirituality and help you mentally as well. I think also, like, if you're talking to somebody that deals with mental health, one of the things that they profess and they teach you is to try to get out there and be active, because when you are active, it increases your dopamine levels, and which leads you to be more healthy as well.
So John, how are those guns these days?
Being a selfless person, I'm not going to flex on camera.
Dan, he pretty much said, "Get thee behind me, Satan."
I'm in the working out phase of my of my life currently. So
okay, I'm gonna bring you back then so you can show us what's the results.
You say it's only for Claire. It's only for Claire.
Right. I'm a married man now.
Just for Claire.
Okay, so here's our other current event. Moving on.
One other thing, Daniel, just got a phone a friend. So my good friend, best friend, Dr. John French is listening on right now. He's a spine specialist. He says that studies have shown that health and anti-inflammatory diet reduces the incidence of depression and anxiety.
We're
gonna have to bring your friend on.
Yeah, you hear that, John? Thank you for the tip, by the way.
Good transition. Wow. What's his transition? He said that the doctor friend said it helps out with depression and what was that other thing? Anxiety.
Studies have shown that a healthy anti-inflammatory diet reduces the incidence of depression and anxiety.
And our hot topic is
a very, very deep discussion. And Claire, this is one of the reasons why I brought you on here too, because this in the Netherlands, there was a physically healthy Dutch woman. She's 28 years old. Decides to be euthanized due to crippling depression. So I just want to and here she is, 28 years old. And the study that we read, that I shared the article with everyone, was that they're seeing cases of younger people requesting euthanization because of different depression states, different anxieties, and different health issues. And it's just kind of, it's like, okay, where is the hope? So Claire, what you're from the Netherlands. I know you said you came over here when you were younger, but what are your thoughts? I'm not saying the rightness or wrongness of it, but I'm just thinking about the issue that depression can be so debilitating that it can cause someone to want to die at such a young age.
Right. Yeah, and obviously, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a mental health specialist, right? So I can't speak to it from that lens. And I think there's overarching reaction. I think everyone thinks this is sad, right? It's a sad situation. No one wants to see this happen. And there are probably also a lot of people that think there's something wrong about this, right? So I want to unpack a little bit more about, why this might be acceptable, unacceptable in society. And I know we don't have endless time, but a little bit about Dutch context, right? So euthanasia has been legal in the Netherlands for over 15 years. And the Netherlands was the first country to authorize euthanasia, but it's also been the first country to legalize same-sex marriage in 2001, prostitution in 1999, and decriminalize soft drugs like weed back in 76. So, and decriminalization is different than legalization. But, for this point, it just shows you a little bit about the social political context when it relates to things like bodily autonomy, right? And I think, in that context, there's obviously pros and cons of that. There's a lot of people who would say, like, we shouldn't have all these things because it facilitates these types of behaviors. But then there's also a certain sense of harm reduction, a sense of, well, if people are going to engage in these behaviors, they're going to pay for sex, they're going to, die by suicide, they're going to use drugs, then if we legalize it, it can kind of bring it to the surface and help us kind of regulate it and create it safer. Right. Okay. So then back to the issue of euthanasia. It's definitely not a free for all. So it's not like, hey, get in line here. Like, can I request this and sign up? Here you go. So there are strict medical review boards that look at this, and there has to be a list of conditions have to be fulfilled, including the patient's is suffering. The suffering is unbearable, and there's no prospect of improvement, right? And so I think now this particular case or cases like this have come to the surface because this idea of no prospect of improvement, we're more familiar with that in a physical illness, but in this case covers mental illness. And there's still a lot with mental illness that we don't know about, right? So we know that there are environmental factors like trauma that impact this. And we also know that there's things about our brain chemistry and that there's genetic components about this. So I think, when we look at this case, it's like, okay, are we upset about this because we don't think euthanasia should be legal? Are we upset about this because, this person lost hope? And because the alternative might have been she might have died by suicide, right? If euthanasia wasn't an option. So I think here, are we really trying to find out, okay, what are the ways we can help people that they find reasons to live and keep them alive, keep them hopeful.
I love that putting things in that context. So Teresa, as a mental health therapist, what did you think about this?
Initially myself,
and just putting it into the context of how Dr. Claire framed it, of the socio-political climax in the geography of the Netherlands. So it's, we have a different mindset than they would have there.
Right. So that is not something that's legal here, right? The only option if she was living in America is to die by suicide. If that's what if she thought that the only way to be free from this pain is to end it all, then here in the States, that would have been an option she probably would have chosen. When I saw the report, the first thing I thought of was how sad it was, that it's sad anytime a person gets to a place where they said there's no way out but to take myself out. One thing that we have to understand about depression is that, like Dr. Claire was mentioning, there are so many factors that play into someone struggling with depression. We have to be very mindful, especially when we're talking to people who are struggling with depression, to not, again, put our beliefs. So there are some people who are totally adamant against medication. You don't know that person's biological, you don't know them. You don't know them. You don't know what they're struggling with. You don't know if there's a chemical imbalance. You don't know what their history is, but you're coming with your advice based on how you feel it should be handled. I have had some clients who did great in therapy while also taking antidepressants. You have some people who antidepressants was the only thing that they needed to get stable, and then you have some who therapy was enough for them. When it comes to depression, it's still something that is still being still being researched and understood. So it's a very delicate situation. And, we talk a lot about how to spot when someone is suicidal and all the different trainings. But at the crux of it, when a person gets to a place where they feel like there is no way out but to die, that is a very sad and dark place to be. And for a lot of those people, in the moment that they're making that decision, they truly feel like this is the only decision. So I just, I always implore people, like, just be mindful of what advice you're giving and to just be there to support them, send them, direct them into the direction of a mental health counselor or a psychiatrist, because they may need medication. They may need other interventions rather than just pray about it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, John.
No, I just think this is a very interesting topic because it's a very sensitive topic, and it's something that is very difficult for the majority of people to relate to because we all do not have that type of whether it's a chemical imbalance or whatever that's going on with you. It's not something that is easily relatable. So it's somewhat hard to interject on how somebody else feels in that moment because you're not living their life, right? I think the thing from the article, though, that I took away from this, and kind of to Teresa's point, is that the physician, and this could be ad-libbed or it could be kind of just not sure if that's how it was directly relayed to this individual, but they told her that there isn't anything else that we can do. Yeah. So that kind of
that's the point.
Yeah. And that takes away hope. And then from the article, she said, well, at that point, I always said, if there is nothing else that can be done, I cannot keep living my life like this. So I just want to end it. Right. I think, and like I said, it was a short article, so I don't know if that was exactly the context or if it was just an excerpt from their conversation. But from what I read, it seems as if then at that point, a hope was taken away, right? And then that's where this decision led. Now, whether euthanasia is right or wrong, that's not for me or us to decide. It's up to, at that point, the law and then yourself, right? But I think the concept of hope is, I think, the key point here. And when you feel you are hopeless and you have no other avenues, is when you make certain decisions.
Mental pain can feel just as intense as physical pain. Sometimes because of mental pain, it's like your body responds physically. So people that, struggle with anxiety, worry, depression, their hair may start to fall out. They may gain or lose a lot of weight. Like, your body reacts to what is going on mentally. So it's a lot of times we are able to sympathize with the person that has a medical diagnosis that is gruesome or or is painful. But then when the person comes with the mental diagnosis, well, we can't relate because we don't equate it on the same level of pain and intensity. But for someone who truly is living in a daunting state, it feels the same as someone going through a physical pain.
Yeah, correct. And to your point, if you think about, and this is going to get a little bit dark, but if you think about torture, right? In torture psychology, a lot of people who are tortured and tortured significantly, they want to end it by dying. They just want to get out of the situation. And in a sense, like, clinical severe depression is mental torture for a prolonged period of time. And that's probably why that person feels that way. It's like I said, something hard to relate to because mentally we can't fathom being there because that's not how some of our brains work. But that is a diagnosis, a medical diagnosis that someone has that they're struggling with. and they live their life that way every single day.
Mercy.
So if you think about like just the pain of like you said, if you get in an accident or you break a leg or something like that, and how excruciating that is, and how much you want that to stop. Imagine if you had that pain every single day, day in and day out, without any relief. I think we have to put ourselves in that context and in those shoes to fully try to even begin to understand what they're going through. Now, like I said, I'm not making a statement whether it's right or wrong, because like I said, that's between the individual, the state, and whatever their relationship with whatever they believe. But I mean, it is something that has plagued our society for eons. I mean, it's been
and like Claire said, they're still getting some studies, and they're still studying.
Yeah.
So Sean, what's your thoughts?
I kind of want to. My focus is not so much on the young lady, but there's definitely some serious issues there. I was reading this morning in this book called Christ Object Lessons, and the story was told about Christ weeping, and there was two major portions of Christ's life where he wept. One was at the funeral of Lazarus, and two was when he was sitting up on the mountaintop looking over Jerusalem and weeping for them. And in Luke 19:42, he says, "If thou hast known, even thou, at least in this day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now they are hid from thine eyes." And so he's talking about in this day, right? And we're talking about how the world is in crisis, and we see with this woman, with the depression that she's going through, the crisis that she's going through. And the question is asked, in this crisis, where is the church to be found, right? Are its members meeting the claims of God? Are they fulfilling his commission and representing his character to the world? Are they urging upon the attention of their fellow men that the last merciful message of warning? And so, we talk about Dawn Staley and how, she's giving praise to God. We talk about the history of the Netherlands, how they're decriminalizing weed, how they're decriminalizing prostitution, because people are looking at these things as a method to heal the crisis that they're going through. But we know that that's not the method or means to deal with the crisis that you're going through, right? Of course, we understand it's the love of God. And she started to talk about the Israelites, how when they came into the promised land, they were so happy at their victories that they just, they just stood there and they stayed at the places where they had already conquered, when Christ wanted them to push even further. And I wonder if I don't wonder. The church, unfortunately, is tempted by the same method. We build these new church buildings and then we get comfortable by just sitting in them and congregating in them. When there's a world out there that Christ is saying, no, I need you to go to these places. The problem that this woman had in wanting to do euthanasia is a problem that Christ can solve. It's a problem that the love of the church can help resolve. It's a problem that knowing that we're there to help and to support people. That's what the church is for, right? It's not going to be through the methods of allowing prostitution or allowing individuals to smoke weed or even allowing euthanasia. That's not the solution to the problem. The solution to the problem is the love of Christ that's seen through the members of its church. And so the question I have is, are we doing that? Who is out there next to us that we should be making contact with? Who is out there in our vicinity or environment that we should be showing God's message to? And I'm going to end on this. Last week, you and I, Dan and Teresa, were at the leadership retreat for Patmos. And it was a great retreat. The fellowship was wonderful. Want to give it up to our pastors for putting that together. But the highlight of that retreat for me was when Pastor McLean got up on Sunday and he talked about how the well should be a ministry to those individuals that are coming in there on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We need to have a plan. We need to have a method that we can reach these individuals. And I think that's what Christ is calling us to do. It's not just to come together on a Sabbath afternoon. It's more than that. The goal that he's called us to do is to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and those who are depressed that are coming through every other day of the week, we need to be going out and meeting those individuals and telling them about the love of Christ.
And the thing is that's the message of hope. Everyone's situation is different. Everyone's situation needs to be handled differently. We don't know her struggle. We don't know her pain. But the message that we focus on is that we need to focus on the message of hope. And if we focus on the message of hope, we can help. We may not be able to help her, but we can help others if we're doing our part. So that's the bottom line. And I just want to put this up here to this national suicide number crisis. If you know anyone who's in crisis, that's depressed or needing some assistance, dial that number 988. Refer that because depression is real. These issues are real, and people need help. So we're landing the plane. We're landing the plane. So we're in our last part, a legacy of love. When we talk about love, it's hope, love, hope. That's what we need. So Claire, Dr. Claire, could you read John 13:35?
I didn't pull it up. Sorry.
Oh, it's all good.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, we're gonna. Yep. Our answer is gonna be a little bit shorter because we're landing the plane.
Gang, do you have the verse ready?
I got it.
Yeah.
By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another.
So, Claire, here we go again, addressing the same motif. Loving our brothers and sisters. Love and discipleship seem to be an action word. Would you agree with that, Claire?
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's what Sean was talking about, right? Like your actions are going to speak louder than your words, and you can sit in church on Sunday or Saturday and, listen and participate in whatever way, shape, or form. But if you're not out there, if you're not, aligning your values and making sure your values are alive and enacted in your daily life, then then what does it really mean? Of course, there's they're going to be challenged. Your values are going to be challenged because it's easier to sit with your values in a church. But when you're out there and life gets hard and people are difficult and life gets difficult, that is when we're really having to lean on our faith, and that's where your true faith and your true character shows up.
Yes. So John, love was the norm in the Christian communities in the first centuries when Christianity was formed. How can we still demonstrate this love for one another through caring for others and not focusing on our ambitions?
Oh, well, that's easy. I mean, it's kind of just like what Clara said, what we all have been saying throughout this whole conversation is you get outside of the confines of your church, of your home, and you just do good work. I mean, you meet with your community, you profess your love for Christ, you sit with the person who's struggling for something and listen to them, whether it's somebody that you know or whether it's your best friend. I am a strong proponent of you treat everybody as you would like to be treated. And I personally like to be treated kindly. So I try to treat everybody else with kindness and with love and affection, whether it's a stranger or whether it's my best friend. And I think that, in a sense, is it's love. I mean, it's love for mankind. It's love for humankind. And you can show love in many different ways. I mean, if you are an introvert, right, and you have a problem, getting out there and having these types of conversations, you can show love and compassion in other ways. If you are blessed with financial means, I mean, there are many organizations that get out there and help people, and so you can donate to that. If you are blessed with the gift of song, then you get out there and sing and make somebody happy. If you're blessed with, even if it's just something about your health and fitness, like Claire and I, sometimes we run little mini boot camps with our neighborhood. You know,
all right.
And all of those are helping your community progress in a positive light.
Awesome. So Teresa, how would you respond to a friend asking, "Where was God in my suffering? If God loves me, why am I going through such a difficult time?" We probably seem like we talked about it a little bit, but since you're the therapist on here, they would ask you this.
Well, one, if I'm talking to a friend, I don't have my therapist hat on. That's number one. That comes off when I'm talking to friends. Well, one, someone who is in a place where they're like frustrated, sad, depressed, and they're feeling like, where was God in my suffering? The first thing I always do is just validate their feelings. Listen to them, because if I just jump right in with, but God loves you. He said, when people are going through, they don't really want to hear that right away. So I need to, one, let them know that I actually understand what they're thinking and feeling. Because if I don't think you care about me, I don't care about what you know. So letting them know that I'm present, that I'm there, that I'm listening, that I understand, showing that empathy towards that person. Because if they can feel your empathy, then they can listen to a message. Once I'm able to get them to a place where they understand that I feel you, I know that what you're dealing with, it sucks right now. Showing them that they're not crazy in their feeling or thinking. And then after that, just reminding them that the presence of God is not the absence of pain. We always feel like, okay, God is there when I'm good. God is there when I'm healthy. God is there when my money is right. But then when my money not right, when I have to go to the hospital for something weird that I didn't even know what was going on, then God is not there. Like, that's a transactional relationship. We've talked about transactional relationships in the past. And with God, our relationship is not transactional. So we shouldn't be with him. So to get into a mindset of, oh, God is not there in my suffering. Well, let's talk about your relationship with God. So again, with someone who is in a place like that, my main goal is empathy, letting them know that I'm there, validating their feelings. When they know that I understand them and I validate their feelings, and I just remind them of what God has said, of the fact that, and I mentioned it last week, we always try to say, oh, God doesn't give you more than you can bear. That's not true. God said, I'm going to help you bear what you've been given, because everything is not God. Some things, that was you. You did that. And here's the consequence of what you did. But God is there through it all. That's what he said he would do. He didn't say he gave it to you, but I'm going to help you to bear it. So I don't know. I feel like sometimes we put too much blame on a lot of other entities rather than, that was you. So, just be people. A lot of things that we miss is just validating people. A lot of people do not feel validated. You got to validate people first before you start preaching to them. You got to validate people before you start testifying. You have to validate before you start chastising. People are looking for validation. Does someone here understand what I'm going through?
I like that. So, Sean, you got the last question.
No, I can't. How am I supposed to come up after that? Just drop the mic. I'll have closing prayer.
because it deals with love and righteousness.
Love and happiness.
Okay. What do the people think in your culture?
You're in my culture? What you think?
About love and righteousness? Do they still have hope that there will come a time when human society will be characterized by love and righteousness?
Dan, you in my culture. You know the answer to this question.
True, but I'm asking you.
Listen, everybody in the show and online, we part of the same culture.
You don't know who's tuning in. You don't know.
That's right. And we're talking about righteousness.
Righteousness. Okay.
Yes, the love and righteousness. Do they go hand in hand?
Love and righteousness.
I think people in my culture believe love and righteousness go hand in hand. I and let me know if I'm wrong in the chat. We ultimately believe that pure love and righteousness will be seen and realized when we all get to heaven, right? What a day of rejoicing that will be. What's the rest of the words of that song? We'll sing and shout the victory.
You know all the song. You know all the words to the other song, Sean. I ain't gonna help you on this.
Forgive me. But yeah, to answer your question specifically, I believe that people in my culture, yes, we believe in love and righteousness. We don't believe that we're going to experience true love and righteousness here on earth, although we preach love and righteousness, and that we can all experience it when Jesus comes again, when we all get to heaven.
All right. See, that's why you did drop the mic. We end on that note.
Teresa dropped the mic with validate.
Look, everybody had a mic drop moment. Let's go.
Jonathan dropped the mic. Dr. Claire dropped. Dr. Claire, how do you say the last part of your name?
I want you wait before she answers. I want you to try to say it first.
Shuck. Shoot.
This is a PG-13.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I always tell people just Claire. Just Claire is fine. No doctor. You don't have to say my last name. Just Claire.
But doctor, if you can't tell us, just say Claire when you put it up there, then we're gonna.
That's true. That's true.
So how you say hello and goodbye in the Netherlands?
Hoi would be just like hi, and then tot ziens would be like see you later.
Cool beans. You said
what's
cool
the last
beans?
one again?
No.
See you later.
Tot ziens.
Cool beans. Okay.
These are the worst two to try to teach another language.
That's why we need to talk about speaking in tongues.
That's a whole nother program.
Please don't.
Well, I'm glad that you guys could join us. Thank you, Jonathan and Claire. You guys was great guests, and I do want your friend who's the doctor. Since he chimed in. I'm glad.
I'll talk to him about it. He, I mean, he is a well-read, and his new fiance actually has her own religious podcast.
Oh,
so,
wow!
Yeah,
so maybe their podcast meet our podcast, and we can chat.
We were actually talking about that last night about getting you guys together to do a joint kind of podcast or whatnot. So
cool. Dan will put it together. Give him the number.
Indeed, but I do want to take a second just to give him a shout out because they are newly engaged and getting married in July. So all the many blessings to Dr. French and Jess.
I love.
Tell him get married in October.
I mean, they already have a date.
An amazing month.
They're everything's already set, but I did try.
She's ready.
She's been ready.
On that note.
Don't get in trouble now.
Lots of love to them. Great people. And John, if you're listening, very happy for you. And love you both. So
awesome.
Nice.
Well, everybody wave at the camera. We'll see you guys next time.
Toit zines.
Toit zines. That's it. Toit zines. Cool beans.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh.